Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this amazing conversation. My name is Rahim, and I am the Black and Asian and minority ethnic for Pride Cymru. And for Black History Month, Pride has decided to conduct some interviews with amazing and talented Black folks to give us an insight and hopefully educate us about the Black lives. Today, I am joined by an amazing person, Travis, who's going to introduce himself now. Travis?
Thanks so much, Rahim, and thanks for having me. So, my name's Travis. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm a creative. I work in TV, and I'm also a drag artist.
Oh, fabulous. Today, Travis, I want to talk to you about queer Black visibility and what is the meaning and what is its important. So, my first question: what is queer Black visibility means to you?
So visibility, and especially queer Black visibility, means celebrating ourselves on a public platform, and I like to do that on social media. And I do it because I think it's really important to have a space where we counter the negative representation that we see of Black people, and of the kind of shame and stigma that was attached with being Black and gay. So
Mm.
visibility to me means celebration, and celebration of joy and all that really good stuff that we're all doing.
Uh, that's definitely it, and we've seen that there is a beautiful visibility now happening right now, and I hope that it's not just a trend and that it's gonna continue so long. And I want to ask you about also, which is something very important, and I see it coming back all the time, is queer visibility, Black visibility in the wider LGBT community, and how it transcends and how important it is. And is it that apparent or not? How do you feel about that?
So for me, I think things have changed a lot. And I guess when we talk about my childhood, so I grew up in Wales, in
Hmm.
Cardiff, in a quite small village, I guess you'd call it. And I did feel like the only Black queer kid in my town in Cardiff. Um, and it was hard, because sometimes I think, especially as Black queer kids, you have to see yourself to feel seen.
Hmm.
So I think that's partly why visibility is so important. And I think now, as I'm older, much of what I do is I very much feel like I can't hide my queerness anymore as much as I used to try and hide it. Like, I'm just me, and I walk in and people are like, that person is definitely gay, or queer in some sort of spectrum.
Hmm.
Hooray, flying the flag, great. And I just want to show other queer kids that, hey, do you know what? It's hard, but it really is okay to be who we are, and we need to
Hmm.
celebrate that, and we need to be proud. And so any spaces that I occupy, I try and be very visible, and I try and be very proud.
So, you spoke about your childhood. Do you feel that things have slightly changed nowadays, especially with everything that is happening right now and uh, amplifying voices of Black queer folks? Do you feel that there is a change? Do you feel that you see other Black people who are queer and proud?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. And I guess the catalyst, I feel, this year was George Floyd, the murder of
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd, and then everything that came with the Black Lives Matter movement
Mm-hmm.
after that. And within that, I think it really showed that there are really new ways in which our generation and queer Black people are finding to center voices that are often silenced. So
Yeah.
these are people like, you know, um, sex workers, undocumented
Mhm.
people, asylum seekers, indigenous people within the queer community who don't have those platforms, who aren't able to amplify themselves. So I think it's a really good question, because yes, there is a change, and that change is a shift in the way that we as a community are realizing that you can't amplify just the straight white voices without amplifying the marginalized people within our communities. So things are changing, and we're doing that ourselves, but I still feel that the community and the things that are happening within the community is very white, especially in Wales, and I'm in Bristol
Mhm.
now, and Black Lives Matter have meant that there's a lot of white people that within those scenes that are making steps for change, but there's a long way to go.
True, 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 true. And there is, I think, in all aspects, there is a long way to go. But when it comes to the Black visibility, and we have a long way to go, and we have to always think about representation when we are in a room. Don't you think it's very important to see who you are with in the same room? If people look like you, I think there is a problem. That's always what I say whenever they ask me about allyship and what allies means, and I feel like this is important. um, and you talked about the Black Lives Matter, and sometimes we feel like the Black Lives Matter is very hetero, very men and cis men. How to take space as a as a black a queer person in those like big voices that is very centric or centered around the man, the black man, cis black man.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So um, when we think about Black Lives Matter, there is a lot that we've been doing within the queer community to Black Trans Lives Matter, reminding the kind of predominant narrative of Black that we might think is assumed Black cisness, and we want to
Mhm,
challenge those narratives by saying,
mhm,
Black Lives Matter, but that does include all of us,
mhm.
all of us Black folk. So I hope that answers your question a bit.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Ways in which I do it, I guess, is just being myself and showing up in spaces and shouting about who I am. It's like,
Exactly,
hello.
exactly that because sometimes I mean, like, I think sometimes when we are talking about visibility, just being who you are is very important, and is
Yeah.
it's enough. It's enough. You don't have to shout it on the top of the roof, but just being who you are and just embrace yourself, embrace your queerness. Just that's visibility by itself. And sometimes we feel like we are asking too much from someone by asking him to be, or asking her, or asking them to be visible, but they are visible just being who they are,
Just by being,
and
yeah,
that's important. And
yeah.
you are doing it. You are even doing amazing things for being visible is by your drag. Do you wanna talk about that a little bit, because I've seen your performance with Glitter Cymru, which is a black and Asian minority ethnic here social group here in Wales, and you took part on our Pride, Glitter Pride, and your performance was the highlight of Pride. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, of course. So, firstly, Glitter Cymru are awesome. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, you're part of Glitter, but I remember, as I said, growing up in Wales, I didn't ever feel like there was a space for people like me, and
Mm,
they provide a safe space for Black people, all in Wales. So I just want to kind of just say how important that is, because again, that's about visibility. Drag, yeah. So my drag adventure only started about a year ago, when I was just curious and I was looking for an outlet to express myself, and I decided to dabble in kind of performance and something
mhm,
artistic I'd never done before. And it was also a way of me exploring my gender identity. So I hadn't come out yet as trans, but I really wanted to play with gender in a safe way. And so I used my drag to still do that, but also just to have fun. And I get to play with makeup. And I think I used to battle with the idea of what does maleness mean and what does masculinity mean. And it was a way of me becoming comfortable with the idea that maleness doesn't always have to mean mask and butch, and like I'm
Yeah.
kind of like but like I'm quite camp, like, and I always have been, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can embrace all sides of yourself as a man. You can embrace femininity and masculinity, and so I love the idea of being able to play with makeup but be very comfortable in my maleness. So that's what drag was about for me, really, exploring
Yeah.
maleness and how much fun you can have with it.
But it's a journey, like to embrace your campiness, and it's very also like what is called what is courageux, like courageous to do to be like embracing that side of you, because I feel like you said now just now, like about sometimes we are trying to portray masculinity in a certain way and femininity in a certain
Yes.
way. Mixing the two together and merging the two together can put people into scrutiny and like
Yeah.
the weirdo of the group, and it takes a journey, and I'm so proud of you for taking part of that journey. And also, like you spoke about taking spaces. Have you find any difficulties performing drag as a black person in let's call it the way it is, a predominant white field?
Yeah, so it's been a bit of an interesting one. I do think that the drag scene is predominantly white, you know, in Cardiff and Bristol at the moment, and drag producers are making steps to put black drag performers, and I'm going to say black drag performers. I don't just mean people of color. I'm going to say black drag
Yeah,
performers on the stage, but I would like it to see it go beyond tokenism, because it still
yeah,
seems to be just book one black drag king or drag queen to tick a box, but then the whole lineup is still white, and I'm still seeing that. And I feel like I can count on my hand the kind of four black drag queens and drag kings that are booked on a rotational basis on the scene. And
yeah.
you know what? There are more than us out there in the UK. Like, there are
Of course.
more talented drag performers, and drag comes in so many different shapes and sizes, and that's why it's so amazing. We can express ourselves in different ways, and I'm very for different types of drag. So
Hmm.
I think that's a whole other conversation anyway, about the type of drag that we see on the scene, which is, you know, it's quite similar. But
True.
I guess my point is there are more black drag performers out there, and the excuse sometimes is, oh, but they're not good enough. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, if you're not putting us on the stage, how do you know? And how do we get the experience and the chance
true.
to kind of become better in front of audiences when we're not given access to the audiences? So yeah, put us on the stage, and we'll show you how good we are.
Yeah, well, because this is the conversation I always have when it comes to black visibility in the bar scene, and making that bar as well accessible for the black community and also people of color. We need those drag queens to attract the community, the black community, to the bars. We need certain music to be played in those venues to make us feel welcome and included. And we need a lot of changes and a lot of efforts to make that space also for us as well. It's for us as well, and it's very important. When we have the conversation, I don't know if you had this conversation before with someone, but whenever I have this conversation with someone, he or she or they always say, well, in our venue, everyone is welcome. But you don't make it seem like it's the case. What do you think? Do you?
Yeah, it goes so much beyond that. And I don't know if you watched the Black Drag Town Council that was in Chicago. It was this live Zoom, I want to say debate, but it was like a drama, like the campest, gayest drama. And it was the Black drag community in Chicago holding the white gay community, actually, because it was the
Accountable.
gay nightclubs and venues that were not promoting or putting Black drag performers on their stage, or they were being treated unfairly. So this kind of reminds me very much of that, because it what they talked about was, it's not just about hiring us on stage, is about putting us behind the scenes as well,
Well,
to
yeah.
feel safe and to feel comfortable. We should be producers, we should be organizing these events, we should be and we are here, we are
We
there,
are, yeah, we are.
we
We
are.
are trying to do it as well, too.
We
We
are,
are
yeah,
trying.
and we are talented. So that was something that I feel very strongly about. Like, let's
Yeah.
be behind the scenes as well. And the idea of safety isn't you're all welcome. It's like, well, who can we see that makes us feel safe? Again, back to that idea of when we were little Black queer kids, we have to be seen sometimes to feel, we have to see ourselves, to be seen. So yeah, I would check out, I don't know if you watched it, but check out the Black Drag Town Hall on Twitch, because it's just, it was hours long, but it's like a drama, and they were holding all these kind of the kind of white scene people who are at the top of the white scene accountable for, we need to make changes and we need to celebrate our Black people in the queer community. I feel like
lockdown is coming back to Cardiff, so I will have a lot of time in my hand, and I will watch it, and I will watch it for sure. And but yeah, it's a fight, but it's not a fight. To be honest with you, it's not a fight. It's about conversation and communication. That's I think
let's all work
that's what I
together.
feel about that. That's what I love about Cardiff, to be honest with you. Even though when we have this conversation and people are receptive and are listening and then trying to do better, and that's what I love about Cardiff. They acknowledge that there is a problem, and they want to better it, and they want to go forward with it. So hopefully it will not be a fight. It's just going to be a conversation and a continuous conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely. Yeah, because sometimes a fight means something big, and I am done fighting, honestly.
And
But
I don't think it has to be a fight. I think it's just about working together with
yeah,
the
that's
queer
what I meant. Yeah,
community in Cardiff, and like the fact that even stuff like this is happening, right? Like,
yeah.
these are little steps that are really, really, really important. They're little steps, but they're also big steps. So let's do more of this. Whoever's doing this, I don't know. Like,
Pride Cymru is doing this, so
do more, please.
so good for them. So no, one of the example is actually Pride Cymru are always trying to listen and trying to have conversations and trying to make things better and make literally inclusivity one of our, because I'm part of Prize Community, one of our goals, and I see that in close hands, and you know me, if I see BS I will call BS.
Yeah, of course, yes, you
do. But because you said you are living between Bristol and Cardiff, and I'm really interested. I don't like to compare countries, but I like to compare cities, because so how is Black visibility and in Bristol compared to Cardiff? Even though it's like comparing the sun and the moon, but how do you live your Black queerness in Bristol compared to living it in Cardiff per se?
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question. And so I live in Bristol, but I often work in Cardiff, and I'm from Cardiff, and so that's why I'm between the two. It's really interesting because they're so different, but then they're very similar. So Cardiff has, and I'm talking about this just particularly in reference to Black queer people, Cardiff has Glitter Cymru, who I talked about earlier, who are awesome. And they're quite new in comparison to Kiki Bristol, who are also a safe space for Black LGBTQ plus people. And there are different events that people run, but I still feel like it feels very separate from the bigger queer community. And I wonder what needs to be done so these amazing groups and people that are doing great things feel more involved in the wider, bigger gay community. And I feel the same about Cardiff that I do in Bristol. And my experience in Bristol has mostly been on the drag scene, to be honest. Like that's my experience of Bristol. And there are steps being made, especially like groups like Bristol Boys, who run a drag king night to try and include more people of colour and black people on stage. And I hope there's similar things happening in Cardiff. But I think there needs to be something that makes it not seem separate. We want to be a part of the community and the scene.
Yeah, it is. When I moved to the UK, the only two cities that I lived in the UK are Swansea and Cardiff. So my experience beyond these two cities is only visiting. So you will not know the city till you lived in it, at least for 6 or a year. So yeah, so I don't have any comparison. So, but also you talk. I think this is one of the most important topics that we can talk about when it comes to visibility, which is media, TV, and film, and. I think we already talked about this, you and I, and you said really interesting thing, and I hope you can, if you can remember what we talked about yesterday. But how do you feel about little Travis growing up watching TV and the black queerness, or only black visibility, to be honest with you, compared to here? Because we talked about Hollywood and Ryan Murphy, the producer Ryan Murphy, producing Pose and producing Hollywood and producing now everything that he does. He tries to include a black and queer black visibility. So how do you see that compared to the British TV?
Sure. I love Pose. I just want to say, it makes my heart sing. But anyway, Ryan Murphy. So I guess my experience of visibility, and I'm going to give an example of last week. So I came home just to watch TV, and I kind of sat there and I watched the news, all white people, and then some adverts came on, more white people, and I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, I've spent like hours just watching white people on TV, and like, I'm not even exaggerating, okay? That is how it is some days. And I'm going back again to see, sometimes you need to see yourself on a public platform being celebrated and doing really great things to feel seen. And so I think there's a long way to go when it comes to TV. And I know things have changed and doors are being opened, and we talked about different dramas and programs that are on. But I feel like at the beginning of Black Lives Matter, you noticed a few more black people here and there on TV. But it still is the case that it's predominantly, I'm sat there feeling frustrated. It's like, I want to see myself, and I'm not seeing that. And so there needs to be kind of very real, actionable steps for change. Do you know, people talk about, we're gonna put this black news presenter on for 2 days. No, that's not good enough. Actually, it's not good enough. So especially when you look at the population of black people in the UK, I don't think you can't use the excuse anymore of, but you know, there's not enough people that want to see, like, you don't want to see ourselves, or you're not good enough. You know, the steps need to happen now, because I feel like this is when all the conversations are happening, because of the movements that have happened in the past couple of months.
I think the conversation is happening, and it is important to keep the conversation going till the speeches, the glamorous speeches of we need this and we need that, we need that, matches the reality that we see in the TV. Now there is a lot of conversation, there is a lot of speaking out loud and doing glamorous speeches, but unfortunately, it's not matching uh, the reality in the set or in the TV or in the products that we are seeing. But fortunately, now the Academy Awards just came up with the new rules and regulations for a film to be nominated, which is has to have a lot of sets of black people and people of color represented in the film, whether in the set or in. So there is change happening, and hopefully it will be echoed here in the UK as well. And we've seen films shows. To be honest with you, I couldn't see it because it has strong themes like rape and and may destroy you.
Yeah.
And for me, and also like we have also like even if we see black people, I talked with Odd Conan last week about black joy, uh, and they talked about black joy in a sense that in media, when we have a representation of black folks, it's in the sad lens, and it's in heartbreaking lens, and then no happy ending lens, and it's really frustrating. And we can say also for all as well the queer films, there's always sad movies and sad ending and HIV AIDS. And to be honest with you, I'm HIV positive. Whenever there is a film talking about HIV, I will not watch it. I can't watch it, to be honest with you. But yeah, there is a lot of hopefully this is going to be just a conversation starter here in Cardiff, and people will be listening and carry on the conversation as well, and ask questions and ask themselves questions as well. And I think we are coming to an end. And before we finish, I hope that you can recommend a film, a media, or by black person, whatever you want to recommend for us.
Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly pick up on your point about black joy.
Oh, yes, please. Sorry.
Just how important I think it is, because when we celebrate and show black joy online and share that with each other, it provides an exact counterpoint of like the helplessness we sometimes feel that's imposed by all these negative representations that we see. And that's why I think it's really important. And within that, I feel you can get a sense of power. And I think that sometimes the little queer black kid that you were growing up in Cardiff needs that sense of pride and power to then make steps to be able to celebrate joy. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. But yeah, okay. So TV wise, because I'm going through a big TV kind of thing right now, and I pretend I don't watch a lot of it, but I really do. Lovecraft Country, please watch that.
What's the name?
Lovecraft Country. Put it in the bottom caption bit or whatever you do after this. Lovecraft Country. It's like a supernatural horror sci-fi with aliens, but the most amazing thing about it is that its main protagonists, its heroes, are black. So if you love that kind of stuff, I love it. I've been watching it with my mum, and yeah, I'd recommend watching that. So I think it's important to talk about safe spaces for black queer people in the UK, and so I would really recommend following Tanya Compass if you don't already. So she's the founder of the Exist Loudly Foundation, and a community for queer black youth specifically. Also, there's a person called AJ. They're called at non-binary. So boy, then like non-binary, but at non-binary on Instagram. And they are founder of Beat for the GXDS. And what that is an online creative safe space for black non-binary people to play and explore with makeup. And I just think it's a really lovely idea, and it's a different way of expressing and celebrating joy. So yeah, please do check them out and join and follow and all that.
You mentioned yesterday when we were talking, you recommended Selena and Aubergine in Cardiff.
Yes, okay,
Um,
Cardiff people, yes. So Selena or Ernest Kaimaya, they are a queer, trans, autistic activist in Cardiff, and they are director of Aubergine Cafe, which is a vegan Caribbean cafe. Oh my God, amazing. They are so important because, again, I feel sometimes the good stuff that Black queer people are doing in Wales is missed. So
yeah,
I think, talking about them is really important.
yeah, and I'm proud of them because they made the pink list this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
hooray!
yeah,
Finally, their voices are being heard, and they
yeah,
are doing amazing things in Cardiff, and we are proud that they are part as well of Glitter Camry.
yeah,
And I'm so proud. I'm so beyond proud of them, and I'm proud to call them a friend as well.
yeah.
We are coming to
More
an end. I
people
am
to
so sorry,
like,
but I am
thank you
mindful for the time.
very much. Okay,
And I
so
love you
lovely.
so much, Travis, and thank you for joining me today. And I will link all your social media with the video, and hopefully people will follow you and follow your journey because it's an amazing journey, and we are so lucky that you are willing to take us with you in it. Nez, thank you so much for being with us and making sure that the deaf community is represented and included with us. Thank you for joining me today, and see you next week with an amazing person. Bye. My name was Rahim, and I am the Black and Minority Ethnic Officer. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.